You've spent your precious time and hard-earned money to find a quality product that you can't wait to use. But are you getting the most out of your bath and body care? Could you be sabotaging your soaps, serums, and scrubs just by going about your daily routine? Well, I'm Allanah Canal, founder and head formulator at Dermis by Tropho, and I'm here to share with you 5 super valuable tips for ensuring the longest shelf life possible for your products. Tip number 1 I have is mind the moisture. If your products are in a sealed jar like this, don't ever go into it with wet hands. And if you're using bars of soap, don't ever sit them on solid dishes like this. When you use a bar of soap to wash your hands and you put it on a solid dish, you're allowing the water from your hands to cool in the dish. What that remaining water does is actually start to dissolve the soap and weaken all those constituents in it. A better alternative is something like this that has spaces in it. When you put the bar of soap on something like this, it actually dries, and when it dries, it's preserved for a lot longer. Tip number 2 I have is to keep it in the dark. When your products are exposed to light, specifically sunlight, the UV rays will actually start to break down volatile components in your bath and body care. The most easy way to see the difference is looking at products that have been left out in the sun versus their original forms. This is a matcha bath bomb that I have. Well, it's not a matcha bath bomb. It's a bath bomb that contains matcha tea powder as the colorant. This, as you can see, is what matcha tea looks like originally. Now mind you, this bath bomb has been sitting out for a few months, and yes, it was for experimental purposes, but you can clearly see the difference. And if you have products on shelves in your bathroom or bedroom or any room that has a lot of light in it, I would strongly ask you to reconsider storing them in a dark cupboard away from light, and it will definitely boost your product's longevity. Tip number 3 that I have is to beat the heat. Donna Summers might want some hot stuff, baby, but I can promise you your bath and body care doesn't. Heat, just like light, is one of those elements that will essentially break down the volatile components. If you're storing your items in the bathroom close to pipes where a lot of hot water is running through, it can drastically change the temperature. Something else to consider is storing your products in a room or bathroom that has a lot of sunlight, as those rooms tend to be warmer than other regions in the house. Now, you don't necessarily have to refrigerate your cosmetics. Just being mindful of where you're storing them is often enough to help preserve them. One comment, the product that is going to be most vulnerable to heat, light, and all of these other things is essential oils. That's why you will always see them stored in dark jars. It prevents UV light coming through, and the proper seals on them prevent the oxygen coming through, and of course it's up to you to keep them away from heat, to keep all of your products as strong for as long as possible. Tip number 4 that I have is to ensure proper sealage. You definitely don't want air getting into your products, and by air, I mean oxygen, because again, like light and heat, it has the ability to break down those components. So the best thing to do is ensure your jars are properly sealed. Now, you can see this jar has a rubber seal on it. That really helps for a tight seal. Things like mason jars, as you can see in their lids, they also contain those rubber seals. So when they're clasped together, it's airtight. That's what you want. And a tip, if you have something that's in kind of a big jar that you don't want to keep opening and closing every single day because you're going to allow more oxygen into it, take some and put it into a smaller jar. That way, if it's something like body butter that you put on your hands, or you want to put a little bit on your lips, you don't have to keep opening this big jar all the time. You scoop a bunch out, not with your hands, with a utensil, put it in a small jar, and then you can take this small guy to go, and you don't have to worry about compromising the quality of what's in your jar. And finally, tip number 5 is be mindful of the microbes. You want to be very careful not to introduce bacteria into your bath and body care. And one easy way to do that is don't stick your fingers in the jar. I know. It's counterintuitive. We've been doing it all our lives. Nobody's ever chastised us for it, but I cannot stress this enough. If your hands are not 100% sanitized, and let's be real, when is anyone's hands ever 100% sanitized? You will be introducing bacteria every time you eat this and scoop in. So what I implore you to do is to get a spoon, a stick, some sort of designated utensil to scoop the product from the jar and then apply it to your hand. If you are using something like a serum, that dropper should never touch your face or your skin, because when it does, that bacteria is going right back into that bottle and touching everything else. And again, if you have enough bacteria, you're going to cause mold to grow, you're going to make your product go bad, and you could essentially be endangering your own health too. Another thing that I have to remind people not to do is use products right out of the shower. There's products like this, a body scrub, which we're so tempted to use when we're wet. But again, when you open that jar and now you're sticking your wet hands in there, it's a recipe for disaster. So again, if you're the kind of person that wants to stick your hands in a jar, scoop some out of a main jar with a utensil and put it in a smaller one that you can stick your fingers in. And of course, I would ultimately encourage you to break that habit. But if you can't, that's a good alternative. Keep the bacteria out of your bath and body care, and it will last a lot longer. Well everybody, that was your 5 tips for making the most out of your bath and body care. And just to recap, at tip number 1, mind the moisture. Tip number 2, keep it in the dark. Tip number 3, beat the heat. Tip number 4, ensure proper sealing. And tip number 5, mind the microbes. If you like this video, please subscribe. And if you have any other ideas that you want me to make a video about, please comment below. Also, if you have any other tips or tricks, do share them. We want to make our products last as long as possible. Again, I'm Allanah Canal, founder of Dermis by Tropho. If you want to check out more on my products, you can visit the website at www.tropho.ca, and I can't wait to make another video for you guys. Have a great day and have fun using your products!